Welcome to the Transformational Podcast. We are so glad you're joining us again. You've got myself, the Marine from Maryland, Robert, and Chris, the pastor from Paradise.
Yes.
And we're happy to be just discussing what God's walking us through in His Word. Chris says, and I quote, "Man, I got lots of good stuff this week."
Hey, seriously, when I was looking to get ready for the podcast, walking through a proverb a day and walking through three Psalms a day, and then one chapter from one of Paul's letters has been just so full of good stuff that, I was covering more ground when I was reading through the Bible, but it takes me longer to do this. And so I've loved it. It's been great. So
that's awesome. Now I'm finishing up. I have, I was on the 22nd or 21st day. So I've got like 10 more days ish. I don't remember which day I was on. I'm a little ahead. Again, I use a bookmark. So if you're just joining us, if you hadn't heard this before, I use a bookmark when I read through. Chris used to at least use a checklist. I think he still does.
I still do.
Yeah. It gives you an opportunity to, if you miss a day, you don't have to be, uber legalistic about it. Really, we spend time in the Word to spend time with God. Actually, I was writing about that this morning, Chris, that I didn't have anything really jump off the page at me this morning, but I just told the Lord, I was like, but I really enjoy the time with Him in it. Does that make sense? So it was kind of an enjoyment. Hey, so what's going on in your world?
Well, along those lines, Robert, like for me, it's one of those things of why do I try to get through the scripture as many times as possible is really kind of has become the goals. I want to get through it as many times as possible before, I go to see Jesus. But part of it is because the more I read it, the more stuff that I learn about God and learn about myself, it just changes the way I think. It changes the way I see life, the way I see God. And so it's one of those things of like, I spend time with it to spend time with God, but also because, man, it is incredibly and really as I read through
transformative,
it's transformative as I read through this current pattern that I'm reading, even this morning in Proverbs chapter 13, I have to turn the right way to get to it.
Right,
but Proverbs 13, it was there's something that stands out that let's come back to that in a second. But 13, where are we? Well, let me even back up to Proverbs 12. It says basically the way of the godly leads to life.
Yeah.
That path does not lead to death.
And what was Proverbs what again?
That was Proverbs 12, verse 28.
12:28. Okay.
And basically it was just this idea of, hey, like you walk a godly life. Well, how do you walk a godly life if you don't know what's godly, right? How do you figure that out? It's through spending time reading scripture, spending time hearing scripture taught. And so for me, man, it's just I don't know. I think it brings joy. It brings peace to my life. It brings a quiet, like I like to call it, a quiet confidence.
Yeah. Right.
Knowing, because I begin to know the character of God, and the more you know the character of God, the more you know you can trust in Him. So,
that's right.
And I don't know. I feel like I want to just build on what you said. Is we don't read through it just to check it off a list. I know my reading plan is a checklist, literally checklist, but that is just to keep track of.
It's just to know where you're at. It's like a bookmark. Yeah. It's like a bookmark. I have a bookmark because I want to know where I'm at. And Chris, it's a bookmark because I've been reading through it for so long that came from a DoubleTree. I mean, years ago. So it's kind of funny.
Nice.
But no, I'm glad you talked about it. You came hot today. I like that. Ready to go.
They're a DoubleTree.
That was back when I was living the C-130 life, my friend.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
So anyway, catch us up. Where are you at? What's going on these days?
Just in life, we, getting ready for Christmas. We had our staff Christmas party this last week, which was a blast. So we try to, hang out as staff because we want to like each other too. And I do. I love my staff. But we don't get to do it that much because ministry is super busy. And so at Christmas, we try to do something together.
Yeah.
Well, my assistant, Jessica, had found this place. It's like a game show place where you take a group and y'all participate like it's a game show.
Okay.
Bro, it was a blast. We laughed so hard. And we just, it was like the perfect length. It didn't take, it wasn't like you're like, man, okay, that was fun, but this needs to be over. Yeah. And it also wasn't like it got done. You're like, that was, come on, there's not more to this. And so it was like the perfect length. It was good, man. It was such a fun day. So that was this past week. And then both my boys had basketball games. It's that season. And And so fun watching them. Brock scored his first basket this last week, which is, some people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, that 7th grade basketball, you celebrate the first basket.
Throw a lot of rocks up. You just don't know if they don't normally all fall.
Adrenaline's pumping. You're going to break the backboard sometimes how hard they're throwing the ball at it. So he settled in just fine. And
that's good.
They both are a little bit competitive. I don't know where they get that, but
I do.
Stop. Their uncle.
Yeah, that's right. I don't deny it.
Anyway. So what's going on? I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I think that's the main.
Think about it. You think about it.
What? Yeah.
What?
No.
All right. Here's the deal. This week was busy week. I managed this week by managing sleep. Sometimes you've got to kind of pay attention to what's going on and say, okay, I'm going to probably need a little extra sleep this week. Had a couple late nights, long day type stuff. But the funnest day that we had was a lot like yours, Chris. We did our Christmas celebration this week at the program office, and I did basically I judged the Christmas decorations of each team, and we had the Whoville, we had the Polar Express, we had another Whoville, we had a gingerbread house, which I'm pretty sure was a fire hazard. If I were to be honest.
There you go.
Someone brought their dog in, which definitely put them up and over for a second place win. The gingerbread house won, again, fire hazard. It was a great time. And then we went out and we hung out as a big group and we raffled off some baskets, had an ugly sweater contest. I'm not going to lie, I had a pretty darn good ugly sweater, but I'm the boss. So
you can't win.
I won't let myself win. I did participate nonetheless but here's the funny part, Chris. I walked around the room because we didn't have very many people lining up for the ugly sweater contest. People were just kind of sitting there with their ugly sweater, not getting on the wall.
You're like, no, get up there.
Oh, yeah. I did. I walked around with a microphone. I'm the MC. I'm like, hey, you, that's an ugly sweater. Get up on the wall. They're like, I like to get on the wall. That's ugly. The person who protested the most, Chris, won the competition.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
It was
We had
fun.
an ugly sweater competition in our student ministry last week, and our student pastor made a guy get up there who was wearing a Longhorn sweatshirt. I was like, this is why I hired him.
Yes, so, that is it right there, my friend.
I wanted him to win. It was the ugliest, but whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, and then yesterday we went to Liberty University and did like a Christmas party with the Liberty University Online Academy. Anyway, it's Annabelle's high school stuff. That was really neat. They do a really good job at everything they do, Chris.
That's cool.
They get tons of people and they kind of move them in and out. And then today's been busy too. But God's good. This morning, like I said, I was sitting with him this morning. And it was just nice, like you're talking about, to be in his presence and have that moment of peace and the rest coming over you. Of course, if you're not paying attention, I know you are paying attention, but not everybody might be paying attention. This is Army Navy weekend.
Yes.
And if you didn't see the spirit spot from the new superintendent of the Naval Academy, who happens to be a Marine, Lieutenant General Burke Schulte, you have got to go watch it. It is hysterical.
How would someone go watch it?
You can go on the Facebooks.
Okay.
Or you can Google Superintendent Spirit Spot, Naval Academy Spirit Spot, something like that. And you're going to see Lieutenant General in the main office where the Navy is, or where the old, he's like the first Marine to come through, and he's the Navy guy. And right now the spirit spot is basically nothing's changed, but it's all Marine Corps with one little Navy emblem on the back shelf. And so it was pretty funny. He's like, I won't even change the mascot, but he did have a bulldog as he was doing his thing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was funny. Let's jump let's jump in today. I had to make sure we were recording, Chris. I almost had a moment of terror. Don't worry, we were recording.
Well, so good, because it's not like we've never done that before.
I know, we've done like 30 minutes before. Not today. Not today. Not today. Hey, Chris, let's go where you want to go today. I think you wanted to jump in at Psalms 39. So let's do it.
So love it. Let's just read it real quick, and I'll tell you just some of the thoughts. Psalm 39, it says, I said to myself, I will watch what I do and not sin in what I say. I will hold my tongue when the ungodly are around me. Now I'm going to pause there because I'm going to tell on myself a little bit. We had a basketball tournament the last couple of days.
Okay.
And in the first game, now here's what's interesting. I didn't say much. I wanted to say a lot, but I'm trying to get to where it's like, hey, dude, like model a good example to your kids of don't, but you know, like, I'm competitive. And so when I feel like calls aren't being made that should be made or whatever, I can sometimes get a little rowdy. And so I literally hadn't said much, but our fans were being a little bit boisterous. And I will say the officiating yesterday was not great. Today was great. They did a great job. But yesterday it was not great. It was below average.
Okay.
And so finally I accidentally say something because they're dribbling down the side. And at this point, like internal angst is building because I'm like, oh my gosh, people, like, come on, like do better. I want to just yell, do better. That's all I want to yell. Anyway, so dribbling down the side and when our guy is bringing the ball down the court and they try to trap him. They poke the ball out of bounds. They poke it out of bounds.
Okay, and they knock it out of bounds.
They say it was out on us.
How's that even possible?
It literally happens right in front of our coach, and he's like, "What?" And so I know I'm seeing it from two sides. I see it from my side and from the coach's side. I'm like, I didn't think that was out.
Yeah,
and I was like, he poked it out. Well, the ref did the thing that no ref should do. He looked at me and said, yes, no, he didn't. I said, yes, he did.
Chris put a muzzle on your mouth.
At halftime. This wasn't because of me, but I was the only one that for whatever reason he decided to respond to.
Okay.
They went and told the tournament officials and basically our fans got a warning. And so but here's what's funny. I did not say the things that people were saying. I was not the boisterous one. I was just happened to be the one that
you happened to be the one that got caught. Yeah, the one that got caught and then couldn't help himself.
And the difference
Yes, it was. You were like
well,
you're like the elf. You're like the elf.
I know. It was like, what? But it was kind of funny because that's just the difference is that I said stuff when the people were quiet. Anyway, and
it happens
it was what it was. But here's what's funny. I thought about that when I was reading this. I'll hold my tongue when the ungodly around me, because look what it says next. It says, but as I stood there in silence, not even speaking of good things, the turmoil within me grew worse.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just laughing because it doesn't that happen. We get frustrated because, and I love that. Not even speaking of the good things, we get frustrated because we're holding our tongue, we're holding back, but we're still focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Rather than leaning into the good things and seeing the good things and speaking of the good things. Yeah, it creates more turmoil within us. If we, and Baird and I had this conversation on the ride home because, so often, the sports is a great analogy here, is that people leave like, man, those refs were horrible. And I kind of said to him, I was like, I don't know that I've ever seen you come away from a game that you did not think the officials were against you. I was like, they don't even know who you, or they didn't know who you are, but now they might. But it's like one of those deals of people leave going, man, those officials were against us. Why? Because all they focused on was the negative, like the bad stuff, and the angst grew inside, and then they left frustrated and torn up over it. And the reality is like, hey, when all you do is you focus on the negative and you see the bad, and I think it happens in life too. You have a choice of what you're going to focus on. Focus on what you can control or what you can't control. Focus on what is good or what is not good. And it was one of those things of fix your thoughts, like Paul tells us, on what is good and true and noble and honorable and worthy of praise, and like fix your thoughts. Well, part of that, Robert's the time we spend with God in the morning. It's a way that we begin to fix our thoughts on those things. But then it's also being willing to recognize and realize that even in the midst of the challenge, there are good things, that God is there, but we've got to learn to see those things. And then he says, not even speaking of the good things. Like, we need to speak of the good things. And it might be, I think of the song Hard Fought Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. That man, especially in the tough times, is that we've got to have that hard fought hallelujah, that moment of praise of going, God, you're good. In the good times and bad, you are good. And here's why. Here's where I see your goodness. Anyway, I loved it because it was just like a little bit of an aha or moment of, hey, man, remember what really matters. He goes on and says, the more I thought about it, the hotter I got, igniting a fire of words. And then he says this. And basically, I finally spewed. And then I was like, dadgummit, right?
Yeah.
He says, Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. So I'm going to pause there and go, he had this moment, igniting a fire of words where he just spews and lets it go.
Right.
And he's frustrated. And I think, man, doesn't it happen as parents? Sometimes we get so hot and we let it fly. And then, it's like, wait, it really didn't matter that much. But now, and I know a lot of, you've got sports families who, man, they wear their kids out over, their performance here or performance there, or maybe it's a preference over the way towels are folded between you and your wife, or whether someone left dishes in the dishwasher or not. Robert, like, I think this could apply in so many areas, because I think a lot of people are like, man, I'm always having to, there's a certain thing that I love that I get to do for my wife. All right.
Yeah.
The toaster so often gets left on the counter, and I get to put it up. I get to put it up for her. Now, I laughingly joke about that because, like, for so long, I would be like, "Are you serious? Like, it goes back up the same way it came out. Like, it's not. This isn't a mystery." But for a long time, I was focused on the frustrating rather than going, "Wait, I get to show love.
Right.
I get to demonstrate my love. I get to serve my wife in this way." And so often we get so frustrated because here's the deal, like, our life is so brief.
Yeah. And I think
our days are numbered is actually what it goes on to say.
Yeah.
In fact, let me read it. It says, remind me. Oh, actually says that. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. You don't know when your day is over. He says, you've made my life no longer than the width of my hand.
That's crazy.
My entire lifetime is just a moment to you. At best, each of us is just a breath. And dude, when I hear that, I think about like those cold nights, maybe even in the NFL where it's so cold outside, the line lines up and it looks like they're all breathing smoke at each other, and it's there for just a minute and it's gone, right?
It's gone there and gone.
That is how fast our lives are. And so often, what do we want to spend our life on? Focused on what's bad, or focused on the greatness and the goodness of God? Focused on what we get to do for God? Focused on what we get to do for our kids, what we get to do for our spouse? Like, we get to, we don't have to.
No, for sure. And there's a nuance here, Chris, I think that I really appreciate in this idea of numbering your days, knowing that your life is nothing but the breadth of a hand, or the smoke on a offensive line, the breath of an offensive line, right? It's this idea that, we keep our mouth shut, like you said, when it's like anger and that kind of stuff, or when maybe it's in defense of ourselves. But, Jesus didn't defend himself in front of the Pharisees. And so sometimes there's that piece of it. And then there's this idea where there's times we got to speak up. And so the question is, I think a lot of times, Chris, for me personally, is, am I speaking up when God's giving me the moment to speak up? In other words, am I saying, hey, this is about eternity. The life's fleeting. This is the time where I can speak into somebody's life words of truth, words of wisdom, maybe even words of life, encouragement. And do I get caught up? Because maybe I do every now and then. I might get caught up, maybe not in reps, but I might get caught up in like some, negative talk where it spirals a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Next thing you know, you're like, it's real negative, and you're kind of like, wow, walked away from that. I don't feel better than when I walked in and when I started that. And I think I think what you see here, because I've had it even with myself, is like it says, my heart grew hot within me and I meditated in the fire burned. Then I spoke with my tongue. You have this with David, this maybe it's a lashing out. I think sometimes as you look at that next piece is, okay, don't lash out, but you do have a very short life. Make sure you live it for the Lord. Make sure that when you are speaking out, what you are speaking out about lifts people up. It brings people to the Father. It is a focusing back in on Him. And I think when we stay focused on how short our life is, then we start realizing like, hey, I don't have very many opportunities like that. Like I want to take the opportunity I have and make the most of it. And make sure, I think it's in Colossians says, be wise in the way you act towards outsiders, making the most of every opportunity. And I think that's really what we're seeing here is when you know that your life is fleeting, then you only have but maybe 1-2 opportunities to speak life into somebody, and you should make that most of that opportunity.
Yeah. Here's just to build on that over. So once again, the same reading from today, if I jump over to Proverbs 13, where I was today, 13:2 says, wise words will win you a good meal, but treacherous people have an appetite for violence. Verse 3, those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything.
Yes, it can.
I mean, it's talked so much about watching what you say, that words matter. Words have weight. So just, weigh it before you spray it, right? Like you need to hold on to it and make sure it actually, is it beneficial? Will it build up? Will it actually encourage or help? Will it fix anything? Right? That's the reality, is that most of the time it fixes nothing to say what you feel like you just, or Robert, to post,
easy there.
Last night on the way home, Barrett was, we were just talking about, some of his frustration. He's like, well, I was just had to get it out. I was like, no, you didn't have to get it out. What you needed to do was change your focus, because the reason, the reality is that you saying it just made you more mad. It got you more frustrated because now you were thinking about it some more, and you're just stirring yourself up, adding fuel to the fire. And the reality is it doesn't fix anything.
So what do you do with it? Because I think a lot of times we've only been trained, Chris, I really do believe this. We've only been trained to, I like to jokingly, I used to say in my young married small group, back that dump truck up and dump it out on our spouse, dump it out on someone else. That's how we feel like we let it out. Like, but what would you say is a more productive way of dealing with it?
I think one of the best questions to ask is ask the question, why am I so frustrated?
Ooh, there's a good one.
Why am I mad?
What about this?
They weren't making the right calls. Well, why did I feel that way? Well, because they called it on me. Okay. Well, all right. Well, they didn't call it on them. Okay. Well,
were they right? Were they wrong?
Right.
Is it just a game?
Why am I so mad? Because I feel like there was injustice done. Okay, so go to God and say, God, I feel like that was unjust. Will you help me understand? And God goes, it was a game. and guess what? You didn't make every shot that you took. You didn't have a perfect pass every pass. You didn't, you didn't guard perfectly. You had penalties. You had fouls. They didn't call. Guess what? Because they're human just like you're human.
Yeah.
Go play the game and play the game unworried about what other people are doing. You go and play it with a great representation of who I am. Now, it's easy for me to use sports because it's very easy. But the reality is that's where we get hung up is, well, I feel like it's unjust. It's crazy because, once again, along with the same reading for this, I'm telling you, this is
how God puts it together, y'all. Yeah. I mean, if you're not reading your
Psalm 37, right?
Yeah.
It would have been my first Psalm of the 3.
Yep.
It says this: don't worry about the wicked or envy those who do wrong, for like grass, they soon fade away, like spring flowers, they soon wither. He says, trust in the Lord and do good.
Yeah, man.
Then you will live safely in the land and prosper. Then check this out. I love this because you're worried about the wicked. You're worried about these things. Instead, you do good.
Yes.
And then he says this: take delight in the Lord, and he will give you your heart's desires. Listen,
yes,
it's all about focus. What are you delighting in? What are you desiring most? Are you desiring your own success and things go your own way? Or you're desiring to say, God, I want to honor you. I want what you want.
Yeah, it's about trust. It's about trust. It's about saying, hey, I'm taking it to the God of justice. You use sports because that was easy, right? But then you have these real moments where you do have actual injustice against you. And it records in Revelations, like, hey, the martyred saints are sitting below the Lord's throne, God's throne, saying, hey, when are you going to avenge us? And God says, hey, I've got you.
Yeah.
Like,
well, in fact, just a couple
comfort. Because
a couple verses later,
a
couple of verses later, he says, "Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act."
Right.
Don't worry about evil people who prosper or fret about their wicked schemes. And then I love this: stop being angry.
That's Psalm 37, right?
Yeah, 37. Turn from your rage. Don't lose your temper. It only leads to harm, for the wicked will be destroyed. But those who trust in the Lord will possess the land. They will prosper. They too win in the end. And so it's one of those deals of taking a step back, recognizing life is too short to be mad all the time. Life is too, like I was explaining to him, like you only get to play school sports for a short time. And if you're really good, it gets extended a little bit more. But the reality is that in college, it's not nearly as fun as high school, and it's not nearly as fun as middle school. So enjoy it while you get to do it. And parents, I would say, make sure you focus on your kid enjoying whatever sport they play. Like if you are putting the pressure on them to be the absolute best, the truth is, I'm going to share it with you, 99.9% of the kids out there aren't going to play at the next level. It's more important that they enjoy the time that they have. They build the relationships and they learn about hard work and working with the team. The lessons they learn from the sport are far more important. And so let them enjoy it. Encourage them to work hard. But man, like I just look at it and go, life is too short. They only get so long to get to enjoy those things. So I want my kids to enjoy those times. So when they come off frustrated and they're always mad about it, that's where I finally had that conversation with myself. I was like, dude, like if you don't like playing the game, then don't play it, man. Like you are too frustrated about getting to play a game. Life is too short.
It is.
So to be angry all the time, to be frustrated. So ask God, why am I angry? What do I feel like is not right? Oh, God, help me trust you with that so I won't be angry, so I can trust that, hey, I'm just going to focus on delighting in you and honoring you and doing good. And Chris, I'm going to trust you with what I can't control.
Spending time with him then builds that trust, that level of trust. It's kind of like when you spend time with somebody. In fact, actually, Chris, we used to, when we were flying combat missions, we would try to put pilots who flew together most of the time, crews that flew together most of the time. And the reason we would do that is because when you fly together most of the time, you start picking up on what someone's going to do without them knowing it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this level of you're flying and you're expecting them to do something, they just do it. And this is how it goes. It makes the flight go smoother. It actually is probably a little safer and the rest. But what's fascinating is the more time you spend with that person flying with them, the more there's a trust built that you expect it to be there. You expect them to do that. And when then you fly with someone different, you're like, you feel like, oh man, you're a little bit out and you're like, oh, I got to tell them what I need and this and that. And I think the more time we spend with the Lord is how we find out that we can trust him. And it's the more time that we kind of see him coming through for us and saying, hey, let me take care of justice. I'm calling you to do good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You keep trusting me. You keep following the path and represent me well.
I love the next part of that passage.
Which one? 39 or 37?
39.
Okay, sorry.
Because it says, surely everyone goes around like a mere phantom. In vain they rush about, heaping up wealth without knowing whose it will finally be.
Isn't that great?
What in the world,
yours says
right?
surely. Say yours again.
Mine says surely, because I'm an NIV. It says surely everyone goes around like a mere phantom. In vain they rush about, heaping up wealth without knowing whose it will finally be.
Dude, isn't that great? Mine says we are merely moving shadows, and all our busy rushing ends in nothing. Right? Same thing about we heap up wealth.
Yeah,
not even knowing, like, what's the point? That he who dies with the biggest bank account still dies.
Yep.
Like it doesn't matter. And who's left? Yeah, I left this wealth to the next generation. Well, did you know that like that kind of generational wealth is actually seen to leave the family actually quite quickly? Like it's very seldom survives multiple generations. Anyway, and so then the very next verse after that,
go do it.
Was what did yours say? Verse 7.
Mine says, "But now, Lord, what do I look for? My hope is in you."
Yeah. Mine says, "So Lord, where do I put my hope?" Why? Why does he respond that way? He says, because it's obvious that the world, the culture we live in wants to put our hope in our achievements and what we can heap up and what we can do. The reality is that it is tireless. And it ends in nothing. He said, but my hope is in you, right? Because it's only place that lasts.
I was going to say it's an eternal investment. And, it's Matthew 19, I think, talks about don't store up for yourself treasures on earth where moth, rust, and thieves break in and steal, but store for yourself treasures in heaven where moth doesn't break down, rust doesn't, whatever, and they can't be stolen. And it's this idea that what we do when done for the Lord has an eternal reward. I've been reading a book, just actually a little pamphlet. I can't say it's a book, Chris. It's a tiny little thing.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, it's about heaven. It's about,
I would still call it a book, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's about some doctrine of heaven, and it's been interesting to read. But one of the things it talks about is this idea that, what we do on earth actually does ring in eternity. God tells us this. He puts that in there. And so when we rush about for the things that aren't aligned to him, when we get worked up over the things that don't align with his will, we're not really storing anything up. As a matter of fact, there's a verse in Corinthians that says that you might escape as one who's escaping through the flames of the fire.
Yeah.
Because you made a house of straw, wood, and combustible material, much like that gingerbread house.
You might survive, but you're going to smell like smoke.
Right. Much like that gingerbread house.
Right.
But in this case, it says, "But who do I put my hope in? I put my hope in the Lord." And I think that is going back to your kind of thought process on justice. Like, why do I feel this way? What is it that I'm doing this? And so, practically speaking, as we read through this piece here, is my practical advice is for you to say, okay, what is making me feel this way? My life is just a mist, I do have my eyes fixed on him, but man, I'm just not focused on it. Something's got me troubled. And maybe it's anxiety from something going on. Maybe it's fear from something that maybe, Satan's bringing against you. Maybe it's something that's as meaningless as a sport. Maybe it's something that feels more real, like injustice to yourself or your family or someone you love. But God's saying, hey, you can trust me.
That's right.
You can trust me. You can bring it to me. You may not know here. And it's a broken world and you have an enemy. It's Satan. It's not the people. It's not flesh and blood. It's Satan. It's angels. But you can trust me. So I want you to bring it to me.
Wait patiently in the Lord's presence. Go to his presence when you're feeling that way. And wait patiently and wait for him to act on your behalf. And it may be in you, it may be through you, and it may be away from you. But the reality is that if you wait, he will act and he'll move.
Absolutely.
What are your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, my final thoughts are this. We talked about kind of the balance of when to speak and when not to speak. If you look at Jesus's life, there were times when he said nothing. There were times when he asked questions. There were times when, he was very direct. He was very direct, knife hand direct, Chris. You can't, if you're not watching, knife hand direct, right?
Yeah.
With Pharisees and people who were, who needed to be direct too. Now, Jesus, God, has given us an opportunity to participate in his eternal kingdom here on earth, his eternal work. And so when we have our eyes fixed on him and we realize that we don't have a whole lot of time to be about our Father's business, as Jesus said, then we become more, I think, focused on using our words wisely, using our words in a way that lifts folks up, calls people to Jesus, to a relationship with him, and calls them out of something that frankly might be hurting them. And so that would be my encouragement as you do that. part of that is sitting and waiting and listening and asking, why am I feeling this way? Is God calling me to speak? God, give me wisdom on what I should speak. God, give me wisdom on things I should not say.
Yeah.
So over to you on kind of final thoughts. I love this Psalms 39. So awesome.
I think the big deal for me is life is just a mist. So focus on what matters most.
Amen.